Listen carefully. This video is not about money. It's about thinking. Because if money alone made people rich, lottery winners would stay wealthy, athletes wouldn't go broke, and people who suddenly earn more would never return to struggle. But they do, which means the problem is not income. The problem is mindset. Poor thinking keeps people poor, even when opportunities are around them, even when help is available, even when doors are open. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand money differently, you will think differently. And when your thinking changes, your financial life must change. Before we continue, subscribe if you want daily content that rewires your mindset. For growth, wealth, and purpose. This channel is not for entertainment, it's for transformation. Now let's begin. What is poor thinking? Poor thinking is not about being unintelligent. Some of the smartest people you know struggle financially. Poor thinking is a set of beliefs, habits, and inner conversations that silently limit growth. Poor thinking sounds like, money is hard to get. People like me don't get rich. I'm not good with money. That's for lucky people. Let me just survive. Poor thinking focuses on short-term relief, immediate comfort, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of success. And here's the truth. Most people never hear, money follows thinking before it follows effort. You can work hard with poor thinking and still stay poor. Why poor thinking is passed down. Most people didn't choose their money mindset. They inherited it. You were taught what money means, how money behaves, what rich people are like, what is possible for people like you. Parents may have said, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Just be grateful you have something. These statements weren't evil. They were survival language. But survival thinking creates financial ceilings. If all you were taught was how to survive, you will feel guilty trying to grow. Ask yourself, what did I hear about money growing up? Who taught me what money means? Do I believe I can have more without guilt? Sit with that. How poor thinking shows up daily. Poor thinking shows up in small decisions. Spending to feel better, avoiding learning about money, delaying action, waiting for motivation, fear of starting small. Poor thinking says, I'll start when I have more money. Wealth thinking says, I'll start with what I have. Poor thinking waits for confidence. Wealth thinking builds confidence through action. Poor thinking asks, what if I fail? Wealth thinking asks, what will this teach me? If this is speaking to you, like this video so YouTube shows it to others who need it. And comment, I am changing my thinking. Words matter. Speak it. Why more money doesn't fix poor thinking. Here's a hard truth. If your thinking stays poor, more money will expose it, not fix it. That's why people earn more and still live paycheck to paycheck. Some people lose money faster than they gained it. Sudden success feels overwhelming. Money amplifies who you already are. If your thinking lacks discipline, money disappears. If your thinking lacks structure, money creates stress. That's why mindset comes before money. The shift from survival to growth. Survival thinking asks, how do I avoid pain? Growth thinking asks, how do I build capacity? Survival thinking avoids discomfort. Growth thinking embraces learning. To shift, replace I can't with how can I. Replace blame with responsibility. Replace waiting with starting. This is not toxic positivity. This is ownership. Ownership is the foundation of wealth. Your income rarely exceeds your thinking. Money listens to discipline, not excuses. Change the root, not the fruit. Daily habits that reprogram thinking. Wealth thinking is not motivation. It's practice. Daily habits. Reading or listening to growth content. Tracking money honestly. Learning high-value skills. Delaying gratification. Choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Small shifts done daily. Break generational cycles. If you've been stuck financially, this is not to shame you. This is to wake you up. You are not cursed. You are not unlucky. You are not behind. You were just taught survival thinking. And today, you can choose growth thinking. Subscribe to this channel. This is where old thinking ends and new futures begin. Poor thinking keeps people poor. But awakened thinking creates freedom. Your past does not control your future. Your mindset does. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need approval to change. You don't need to explain your hunger more. Think better, live better, build better, change your thinking, change your life. Subscribe. Comment, I'm ready. Poor thinking and identity. There is a dangerous form of poor thinking that most people never notice. It's called identity attachment. When struggle becomes part of who you are, freedom starts to feel unfamiliar. Some people don't just experience poverty, they identify with it. They say, people like us don't live like that. That's not our level. I'm not the type that does business. Money changes people. These statements are not facts. They are identity fences, and your income will rarely rise beyond who you believe you are allowed to be. Breaking free requires an uncomfortable question. Who would I become if struggle was no longer my story? Many people avoid wealth not because they hate money, but because they fear losing identity, belonging, and familiarity. Ask yourself slowly, who am I without struggle? Who do I fear disappointing if I grow? Am I loyal to people or to patterns? Sit with that truth. The emotional addiction to struggle. Poor thinking is not only mental, it is emotional. Struggle creates sympathy, excuses, validation, low expectations. For some people, struggle becomes safe. Wealth removes excuses. Wealth demands accountability. Poor thinking whispers, if I fail while trying, I'll have no excuse. So people stay stuck on purpose. Not consciously, emotionally. Breaking free means learning to live without sympathy, drama, and self-pity. Freedom is quiet, and silence scares people who are used to noise. If this feels uncomfortable, it means it's working. Stay with it. How poor thinking distorts time. One of the most destructive effects of poor thinking is shortened time vision. Poor thinking asks, what will fix today? Well thinking asks, what will protect the next 10 years? This is why poor thinking spends future money today, avoids long-term discipline, chooses relief over results. Breaking free requires time, courage. The courage to plant seeds you won't harvest immediately. Wealth grows slowly, and that offends impatient thinking. The role of environment. Thinking does not exist in isolation. Your environment either reinforces growth or punishes it. Poor thinking survives in environments where growth is mocked, discipline is lonely, improvement is seen as pride. If everyone around you is surviving, growth feels like betrayal. Breaking free sometimes means outgrowing conversations, outgrowing habits, outgrowing environments, not because you are better, but because you are becoming different. Not everyone will understand your growth. Silence is a sign of focus. Discomfort is the cost of change. Poor thinking and money behavior. Poor thinking shows up clearly in behavior, not in words, in patterns. Patterns like earning and immediately spending, avoiding numbers, fear of tracking money, feeling controlled by income instead of directing it. Wealth thinking treats money as a tool, a resource, a responsibility. Breaking free starts with respect for money. You don't disrespect what you want to grow. The breakpoint, when thinking finally shifts. Most people don't change when they are inspired. They change when they are exhausted. Exhausted of repeating cycles, explaining struggles, starting over, watching others pass them. That exhaustion is not weakness. It is the doorway. The moment you say, I can't live like this anymore, that sentence ends poor thinking and begins ownership. If you are at that breakpoint right now, this channel is not accidental. Subscribe to Mental Currency Lab. This is where old thinking dies and disciplined thinking is built. Type in the comments, I choose growth. Say it, see it, become it. Freedom is boring, and that's why it works. Here's a truth few people admit. Wealth building is boring. No drama, no rush, no chaos. Poor thinking craves excitement. Wealth thinking values peace. Breaking free means choosing stability over attention, discipline over dopamine, consistency over hype. Peace compounds. You were never broken. You were trained to survive. But survival is not the goal. Growth is. You don't need permission to think differently. You don't need validation to live better. Your mind is your first asset. Protect it, train it, invest in it. This is not the end of the lesson. This is the beginning of your recalibration. Generational thinking. Why cycles repeat. Poor thinking rarely starts with you. It travels quietly through generations, not as instructions, but as examples. Children don't inherit bank accounts. They inherit behavior. They watch how adults talk about money, how stress shows up around bills, how opportunity is avoided or chased, how risk is feared or respected. When survival is all a generation knows, it teaches the next generation to play small. Breaking free is not selfish. It is interrupting a pattern, and patterns resist interruption. That resistance shows up as guilt. Ask yourself, what money habits did I observe growing up? What fears did I inherit? What patterns stop with me? Children learn your thinking, not your advice. You can tell children to save money, but if they see panic, debt, and avoidance, they learn fear. You can tell children to dream big, but if they watch you settle, they learn limits. Your thinking becomes their financial blueprint. Breaking free means modeling discipline, speaking growth language, normalizing learning, demonstrating patience. You don't raise wealthy children with money. You raise them with thinking. If this makes you think about the future, stay with this channel. This is legacy work. Systems beat motivation. Poor thinking relies on motivation. Wealth thinking builds systems. Systems don't care how you feel. Systems work when motivation disappears. Examples: automated savings, scheduled learning time, fixed investment habits. Non-negotiable discipline. Poor thinking ask, how do I feel today? Wealth thinking ask, what is the system? Breaking free means removing emotion from decisions that shape your future. Motivation fades, systems remain. Structure creates freedom. Freedom is designed, not wished. Permanence thinking, building beyond you. Poor thinking thinks in seasons. Wealth thinking thinks in permanence. Questions shift from, how do I make money? To, how do I make this last? Permanence thinking ask, what survives me? What sustains without me? What continues even if I stop? This is where assets matter, skills matter, reputation matters, knowledge matters. Breaking free is not just about earning more. It's about building something that does not collapse. When you get tired, the final shift from escape to purpose. Most people start wanting money to escape pain. That's normal. But lasting freedom comes when money serves purpose, not fear. Escape thinking says, I want to get away. Purpose thinking says, I want to build something meaningful. When thinking shifts from escape to purpose, discipline becomes natural. Sacrifice makes sense. Consistency feels rewarding. This is the final evolution. Not survival, not escape, but creation. If you've stayed this long, this message is for you. You are no longer here by accident. Poor thinking ends where awareness begins. Subscribe to Mental Currency Lab. This is where generational limits are broken and disciplined minds are built. Type in the comments, I build for the future, and mean it. Mental Currency Lab, where thoughts become assets. Watch next, subscribe, and reflect.